of one who looks. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked. But they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the Bhagavad-gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle brahmana, a chandala, a dog-eater, a dog, or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Srila Shukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Thus, he did not see a male or female. He saw all living entities in different dress. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor, just as by looking at a child one can understand how innocent he is. Shukadeva Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Shukadeva Goswami was transcendental to sex relations, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualification, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren, yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom, because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder has to distinguish between a male and female, otherwise he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between the spirit soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Shukadeva Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Shukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Please repeat this translation. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked, but they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakayat Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Drishtvanuyantam Rishimatmajam Apyanagham Devyo Hriya Paridadurna Sutasya Chitram Tadviksha Prichati Munau Jagadustavasti Stripum Bida Natu Sutasya Vivikta Drishtahe. So, this verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam is describing the glorious position of Shukadeva Goswami. One of the fundamental forces acting in this entire universe is the strong attraction between male and female. Throughout the universe, it exists in all species of life. And in human society also, even in demigod society also, everywhere, up to Brahma, Yastu Indra Gopam Athavendra Mahosva Karma, up to Brahma it exists. Because all living entities in this universe are controlled by the three modes of material nature. So all those who are controlled by the three modes of material nature, they must be subject to this strong attraction between male and female. Nobody is exempt from this. But Shukadeva Goswami was completely beyond all such attraction. So this shows the glorious transcendental position of Shukadeva Goswami, how exalted he was. In other words, Shukadeva Goswami was beyond the control of material nature. Material nature influences everybody's consciousness in this entire universe up to Brahma, but not on the consciousness of Shukadeva Goswami. And therefore, this Shukadeva Goswami, when he explains the Bhagavatam, particularly the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, where Krishna's confidential pastimes, the Rasa Leela with the gopis, is described. So because it is described by a person like Shukadeva Goswami, therefore we understand that all those pastimes of Krishna are all completely spiritual. Otherwise, people have this confusion. Why Krishna danced with the gopis? Why such activities were performed? Most people think that they are all Krishna and the gopis were just like ordinary young boys and girls, and out of some fun and some lusty affairs, they got excited and they were all dancing. Many people have this misconception about Krishna, and particularly Krishna's Leela with the gopis. But here in the Bhagavatam we find what kind of person, what kind of exalted person is Shukadeva Goswami, and such a person is describing the activities of Krishna and Rasa Leela. And what is that qualification? He made no distinction between male and female. So such is the exalted consciousness of Shukadeva Goswami. So only a person who is on this level, who is on the level of Shukadeva Goswami, who has transcended material nature, who has no distinction between male and female, he makes no distinction. That kind of, basically in the material world, this is found only in children. Children are completely innocent. They cannot understand the distinction between a boy and a girl, male and female. They are completely innocent. Why they are innocent? Because material nature has not yet produced its effects on children. That is why children are very special in that sense, because children can be molded. Nature gives that facility that when one is not yet fully developed to the realities of this world, the consciousness of a child can be molded in a certain way for higher purposes. So anyway, as a child grows up, everybody understands the distinction between male and female, and everybody becomes conscious of the attraction between male and female. And Shukadeva Goswami, although he was a 16-year-old boy in the prime of his youth, still he is described in the Bhagavatam as completely transcendental. So much transcendental that when the young women were taking bath, they felt that his vision is so innocent. He's so innocent, he's beyond this kind of distinction. They did not find any necessity to even cover themselves. But they had to do so when Vyasadeva, who was like a grandfather, great-grandfather to them, but they immediately covered themselves. And upon inquiry, Vyasadeva inquired, what is this? I am like your grandfather, great-grandfather, and my son is passing. He is just like a 16-year-old young boy. When he passed by this place, all of you did not cover yourselves, but when I have come, you have immediately covered yourself. So the reply is given by them that, O sage, you are making a distinction between male and female, whereas your son is completely transcendental to this. Of course, Vyasadeva is also as transcendental as Shukadeva Goswami. Vyasadeva is also not an ordinary person, but Prabhupada says because he is playing the part of a householder, he did not act as if he is totally liberated. That also needs to be understood. So anyway, the point is, such an exalted person like Shukadeva Goswami, who is beyond the attraction of male and female, such a person is describing Krishna's Rasa Leela. Such a person is describing Krishna's confidential activities with the gopis. Such a person is describing that Krishna danced with 16,000 or more than that, 64,000 gopis in the dead of the night. So therefore, a person like Shukadeva Goswami, because he has crossed this attraction between male and female, why would he take the trouble? Why would he show any interest in describing the activities between ordinary boys and ordinary girls? Shukadeva Goswami is completely beyond all this. He is Atma Rama. He is experiencing a higher kind of a pleasure, a higher kind of happiness, which is beyond the conjugal happiness which exists between boy and girl. So such is the exalted consciousness of Shukadeva Goswami, and that Shukadeva Goswami is explaining Rasa Leela, Krishna's activities with the gopis. So therefore, from this we can understand that Krishna's activities with the gopis is not mundane. It cannot be compared to the conjugal affairs of ordinary boys and girls in this world. If it were so, then Shukadeva Goswami would not have described all of them in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So this is how we understand the exalted position of Shukadeva Goswami, and such a person is qualified and authorized to describe Krishna's most confidential activities. So if a person is not on the level of Shukadeva Goswami, he is not transcended the mundane attraction between male and female, such a person has no adhikara to discuss about Krishna's Rasa Leela. He has no adhikara. Because as long as a person's heart is contaminated with this, he cannot understand Krishna's divine nature. He cannot appreciate Krishna's transcendental nature. So this is the test. If somebody is speaking Rasa Leela, he should be on the level of Shukadeva Goswami. If he is not, then he has no such adhikara. And if he is doing that, that means something is wrong. And such persons, we should not hear the such activities of Krishna. So this is what is explained here. And further, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. So, in this material world, in different ways, everybody wants to enjoy life. Enjoyment, seeking enjoyment is a very intrinsic nature of everyone. And one of the things which gives a very strong enjoyment to everyone is relationship with the opposite sex. Conjugal affairs are a source of great happiness and satisfaction for everyone. But then the problem is that everybody wants unlimited happiness. People want unlimited satisfaction. But that is not available through this conjugal affair. This is the paradox in the material world. As spirit souls, everybody is constantly trying to maximize his happiness and satisfaction. And when somebody tries to maximize his happiness and satisfaction through conjugal affairs, the result is only frustration. Because that is the nature of this material world. That is the way it is created by the Lord. Srila Prabhupada quotes one Bengali poet. Prabhupada quotes a Bengali poet, Vidyapati. Vidyapati says, Tatala saikate vari bindu sama, sutamita ramani samaje. Basically, all material enjoyment, particularly with family, children, society. So, Vidyapati compares to vari bindu sama. Vari means water, and bindu means drop. Sama means equal. Vari bindu sama. It is like a drop of water in the desert. In a desert, if somebody is very, very thirsty, he needs liters and liters and gallons of water, and somebody comes and gives him only one drop of water. So you may say that is also some happiness, at least one drop you got. But who can be satisfied with one drop? Not possible. So this is the paradox in the material world. The desire is there for unlimited satisfaction, but it is not available. It is not available. Desire remains. Person has desire for so many things. He wants to go on eating and enjoy something, but he cannot. His body will fall into trouble. Similarly, conjugal affairs also, person wants to go on enhancing the satisfaction and happiness derived out of conjugal affairs, the affairs, relationship between man and woman. But he cannot do so. Why he cannot do so? The result will always be frustration. In the Bhagavad-gita, it is very nicely pointed out by Krishna, that which appears as nectar in the beginning becomes poison in the end. It appears like nectar in the beginning, but you go on taking more and more and more, the result is only frustration. So why this? So those who come to spiritual life, or at least those who have understood there is no real happiness and satisfaction in all these things, then the question comes to the mind, why did God create all these things? This question comes very strongly in people's mind, at least when newly we come to Krishna consciousness, because we are all seeking to maximize our happiness. In different ways we try to maximize our satisfaction and happiness. Nothing works. We come to Krishna consciousness, we ask, because sometimes we want the best of both worlds. On Krishna consciousness also and material enjoyment also. Both are there, it is very nice. Full Krishna is not so easy now. Full material also we have understood that doesn't work out. Half, 50-50, some kind of this. It's a very nice thing, no? So that time the mind questions. I cannot maximize my happiness through material means, through conjugal affairs. Why did Krishna create in the first place? Why has he made male, female, attraction between male and female, and then you have to go behind that and then get frustrated? Why all this the Lord has created? Because it is Krishna's creation. Male and female and attraction between male and female is Krishna's creation. Nothing is separate from Krishna in this universe. So why has the Lord created all these things? What is the reason? So that is explained here. The outward dress is made of material nature to keep one entangled in the material existence. That is one reason. Another reason is also there. Krishna wants to educate all the living entities that this is a reflection of something which exists in the spiritual world. Urdhva moolam adashakam ashwatam prahuravyayam. In the 15th chapter, Krishna says there is a banyan tree on the bank of a river or a lake, and the banyan tree is reflected. Urdhva moolam, the roots are going up, and adashakam, the branches are down. Generally, the roots are down and branches are up. That is how a tree is. The roots are down and the branches are going up. So Krishna is talking of the rivers here. Urdhva moolam, the roots are up, and other shakam, the branches are down. How can such a tree exist? So Prabhupada explains, such a tree exists only in the reflection. In reality, there can be no such tree. There cannot exist a tree with urdhva moolam and other shakam. But Krishna is telling such a tree exists. So where can it exist? It can exist only in the reflection. So by seeing the reflection, we can understand urdhva moolam, the roots are going up and the branches are down. We can understand there is a real tree. Similarly, by seeing and experiencing all these conjugal affairs in this material world, one can understand there is reality somewhere. This is false. This is temporary. This cannot give, we cannot maximize our satisfaction through this. But there is something by which we can maximize our happiness and satisfaction. Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki, Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki. So that we can understand. That we cannot maximize our happiness and satisfaction through all these things, through material things. Then why did Krishna create in the first place? It is created because all those people who have rebelled against Krishna. Rebelled against Krishna means all those people who don't want to work for Krishna's enjoyment. That is the definition of rebellion. So this material world, according to our Vedic scriptures and according to the explanation given by Acharyas, is filled with living entities who don't want to work for Krishna's enjoyment. Everybody wants to work for their own enjoyment. Where spiritual world is a place where everybody works for Krishna's enjoyment. This is the difference between spiritual world and material world. Material world, everybody works very hard for their own enjoyment. In spiritual world, everybody works very hard for Krishna's enjoyment. That is why Krishna says in the Gita, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. I am the enjoyer of all activities and tapasya. So very simple distinction. What is material world and what is spiritual world? Here everybody is working hard for their own enjoyment with a conception that I am independent of Krishna. In the spiritual world also everybody is working hard, but they are working hard with the sole motive of satisfying Krishna. In fact, in the spiritual world, their enjoyment lies in giving enjoyment to Krishna. That is spiritual world. In the material world, by giving enjoyment, there is no enjoyment. We take a cup of ice cream, you give to somebody else, there is no enjoyment. You eat it, there is enjoyment. By giving, where is enjoyment? Of course, Prabhupada says there is one thing in the material world which comes very close to this, and that is the relationship between mother and child. When a mother feeds the child, the mother is happy when the child eats. So that is a very close thing. That is also not 100% pure, Prabhupada says, but that is the closest to the spiritual world of what exists in this world. Otherwise, everything else is, it is for me. If I get something, it is enjoyment. Whereas in the spiritual world, all the living entities are united by this common motive. What is that common motive? They want to give enjoyment to Krishna. And by giving enjoyment to Krishna, the act of giving enjoyment to Krishna is their enjoyment. So they are very much motivated to give, unlimitedly go on giving service to Krishna. So giving service to Krishna and seeing Krishna enjoying is the standard of happiness in the spiritual world. And the Acharyas explain, only through that we can maximize our happiness and satisfaction. We can maximize our happiness in life only by maximizing the act of giving to Krishna. So therefore it is said, nobody should restrain himself when it comes to giving any service to Krishna. Nobody should think this is enough, I have done enough, this is sufficient, already I have done enough bhakti. Nobody should think like that, because the nature of the spirit, if somebody thinks like that, what will be the result? The result is, because everybody is desiring to maximize his own happiness and satisfaction, if he doesn't apply that tendency for Krishna's service, person will get misled. He will try to find out other means, and the result of that will only be frustration. So all those living beings who are agreeable to this, give enjoyment, and giving enjoyment to Krishna is your enjoyment. All those who are agreeable, those who have this attitude, they exist in the spiritual world. And all those who are opposed to this attitude, they exist in the material world. And in the material world, all those persons, all of us who have this consciousness, they are shackled by this attraction between male and female. That is the punishment. Why it is a punishment? Because, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After many lifetimes of such attempts to enjoy the material world, if somebody is fortunate, he comes to a pure devotee, the shelter of a pure devotee, he begins to understand all this cannot give real satisfaction and happiness. I cannot maximize my happiness and satisfaction by anything other than serving Krishna. This consciousness doesn't come so easily. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many births and lives, he understands Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Giving service to Krishna and maximizing my service to Krishna is Sarvamiti. That is everything. That consciousness comes after many. So till that consciousness somebody comes, one is shackled by all such things, particularly the affairs of the opposite sex. So therefore, this entire material creation, this entire universe is an opportunity. It is created by the Lord in such a way that everybody tries to maximize their happiness and satisfaction, particularly through conjugal affairs, and then they become frustrated. And if they are fortunate, and that fortune is meeting a pure devotee. Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jiva. That Bhagyavan means fortunate. So if somebody is fortunate enough to meet and get the association of a pure devotee, and when he hears all these things from a pure devotee, he understands that I cannot maximize my happiness and satisfaction by anything other than giving service to Krishna, giving enjoyment to Krishna. So this knowledge has to dawn upon. So therefore this entire creation exists. Even the devatas in the upper planetary systems, there is also conjugal relationship. They perform a lot of punya, they get the position of Indra, Varuna, Chandra, Vayu. They are very beautiful apsaras there. Life is of much wonderful standard there. One doesn't have to go to the office and earn money and all in upper planetary systems. Everything is available for everyone because you have done the punya, you can just go and enjoy yourself. But there also, they have this problem. Because the desire to maximize the happiness and satisfaction is there. Beyond their punya, they cannot enjoy there. As long as the punya is there, they are allowed to enjoy. The moment punya is over, it is said from the upper planetary systems, the people are kicked out. They are literally kicked out. It's like you go and stay in a 5-star hotel. You paid the bill for 10 days. Till 10 days, you will be respected like a king. 11th day, you are kicked out. No respect is given. That's the way it is. Similarly, as long as the currency of punya exists, the devatas are enjoying, They are in a very exalted position materially. They can watch the dancing of the apsaras. They can drink somapana. They can do so many things. But as they are doing, their punya is getting exhausted. The day the punya becomes zero, they are literally kicked out. And then they have to come back to this world. Kshine punye martyalokam vishanti, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita. Again, they have to perform punya. Performing punya is not so easy. They have to dig hundreds of wells. They have to plant hundreds of trees. They have to donate millions of cows. Be very careful, not break any of the 4 regulative principles. Follow the Varnashrama Dharma very strictly. It's not an easy thing. It is said in the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says, 100 births, if somebody performs the duties of a Brahmana strictly, without even a single offense, then he becomes Brahma. So you can imagine, to become Brahma, 100 births he has to execute the duties as a Brahmana. Not a single mistake. Even a mistake means Papa Karma. As per Vedic standard, something is stated in the Vedas. You don't do it, that is sin. So he has to do parihara, prayaschitta. Then again not commit that sin next time. Like that, if he performs for 100 births very meticulously, he gets a position of Brahma. So you can imagine, somebody doesn't perform 100 births, maybe 10 births, 15 births he performs. He will not become Brahma, he will become Indra, or Chandra, or Varuna, or Vayu, or some other Devata. Like that, this is the position of the material world. But everywhere this problem exists. Even up to Brahma, this problem exists. Everybody wants to maximize their happiness and satisfaction, particularly through conjugal affairs. But then one becomes bewildered, one becomes confused. Even Indra, such a great personality, he knows the rules of Dharma very nicely. Suddenly his mind becomes attracted to Ahalya, Gautama Rishi's wife. He runs behind her. He changes his form like Gautama Rishi, and then he gets into trouble. Then Indra is also cursed, Ahalya is also cursed, he falls into trouble. Indra knows what is Dharma. He knows this is right, this is wrong. But his mind carries away him. Like that, Indra has committed many mistakes. Many times his mind gets bewildered. He is the wife of a rishi, Indra runs behind her. Because the force is so strong, Indra cannot control himself. And then he comes to his senses. He begs for forgiveness. And this time, Indra says he will be okay. And after a few months, something else comes, again he runs behind this. So if Indra's position is like that, so you can imagine what is the position of people in the modern society. Absolutely no self-control. So therefore, there is a class of people, especially in the modern society, they say, forget all these rules and regulations. Just enjoy it. Just go for it. Just maximize your happiness. After all, 50, 60 years you will live. Just do whatever you want. If you feel you get pleasure, just do it and then die one day. People are like that because regulation doesn't work. There's nobody in the society to inspire them with all this regulation. And what is the point in all this regulation? Why should I be regulated? So like that also, that philosophy is very much prevalent in Kali Yuga. Because no varnashrama, no kings to punish. Formerly society was very strict. In any village in India, any man passes, any woman passes, everybody knows whose husband is, whose wife is, whose son is, whose father is. That is how a person is identified. There is no question of secrecy in relationships. That's why Prabhupada says, in the Vedic society, when a marriage is conducted, the whole village is called to tell the whole village, this man is this person's wife and this woman is this person's husband. Everyone should know. It is never conducted in a secret way. Marriage means everybody is called. Entire village is called. So there cannot be any secrecy in relationships. It has to be told to everyone. There cannot be any secrecy. It is not one's bank balance, which one need not tell others. Society means it has to be like that. Otherwise, which children are born, whose father is, whose mother is, nobody will know. That will lead to all illicit children, unwanted children. People may get into a relationship, they will produce children, and then they don't want to take responsibility for the children. And then the children, they will go around, no mother, no father, they will grow up as criminals. So it will become a lot of problem in the society. So society cannot function like that. So therefore today all other means are there, abortion, this, that, killing the child, all these things. That is further sinful. So how Kali Yuga people are entangled, you see. So much trouble people get into, all these things. And if somebody breaks the regulative principles like that, and simply lives like an animal, then his consciousness becomes degraded like that of an animal. Why? Because dharme vihina pashuhi samanaha. Because in animal society, there is no concept of marriage. There is no such thing as this is my wife, this is your wife, this is his wife. There is no such thing. Animals need not follow that. There is no dharma among them. Their consciousness is very low. They can just do whatever they want. But human being cannot do that. Human being cannot do that. There has to be dharma. Therefore, in any religious system we see, even if it is Islam or Christianity or any religious system, there is a system of marriage, Srila Prabhupada says. There is a system. Animal society is not there, but all religions, there is some system of marriage. Why? Because this has to be regulated. If there is no regulation, there will be chaos in the society, as presently we are seeing. So that is the way it is. But either regulated or unregulated, both cannot understand why this exists in the fundamental place. Regulated, they are good. They want to follow the scripture. They want to be religious. Therefore, they are regulated. Unregulated, anyway, they don't care for anything. So there is no point in talking about them. But both the unregulated and regulated, they cannot understand why all this exists. Why God has created all this. Nobody can understand. So only a pure devotee of the Lord who is on the level of Shukadeva Goswami, he can explain all these things. Why? Because he knows what is the original. Urdhva Mada Shakam. We have seen only the reflection, but a pure devotee has seen the original tree. He descends from the spiritual world. He knows what is the kind of spiritual happiness which exists in the spiritual world. And he knows what kind of relationship exists between Krishna and his devotees. He has full experience of that. And when he speaks, when a pure devotee speaks like Srila Prabhupada, he tries to share that experience with others. He gives his experience to others because he has experience of Krishna, he has experience of devotional service from the spiritual world, and he knows how to maximize one's happiness and satisfaction by giving enjoyment to Krishna. That is the nature of the spiritual world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that. Ananda ambudi vardhanam, pratipadam purnamrita swadanam, sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Through Krishna Sankirtana, Ananda ambudi vardhanam. The ocean of happiness is ever increasing in the spiritual world. And that is available through Param Vijayate Sankirtanam, through the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So all these things are very well known to a pure devotee. From that vision he sees this attraction between male and female. He can understand its relative position. And therefore, only by such association with a pure devotee, we can understand all these things. Otherwise, if somebody is not fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee of the Lord, a person can never understand why all this exists. Why all this exists, person can never understand. So what is the conclusion people come to? Either they say, forget all these things, just do whatever you like, or they also say, God has created all this for our enjoyment only. That also people say. God has created all this for our enjoyment only. Okay, some regulation God has created, that also we should follow, otherwise there will be trouble. You don't enter my territory, I don't enter your territory, so that we don't fight with each other. But still, the problem is the desire to maximize one's satisfaction is so strong that in due course of time, person cannot continue to follow and exercise restraint. Cannot continue. How long he can continue? Artificially. So therefore, the only way is to very seriously take to devotional service, the act of giving enjoyment to Krishna, and understand that this is the only path by which all of us can actually maximize our happiness and satisfaction. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-gita, Macchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam namasyantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Tushyanti means satisfaction, ramanti means enjoyment. So how my devotees take satisfaction and happiness? Macchitta, their chitta, their consciousness is absorbed in me. Madgata prana, their lives are surrendered to me. Bodhayanta parasparam, discussing about me. So the Lord's name, form, qualities and activities, Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela of Krishna, that alone can give us real happiness and satisfaction. Nothing else can give us real happiness and satisfaction other than the Lord's, Krishna's name, form, qualities and activities. So the whole endeavor in life, in Sankirtana, is to increase our attraction for Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Through this, the soul's original desire of wanting to maximize his satisfaction and happiness is fulfilled. Through Sankirtana, it is fulfilled. Other means, it will only lead to frustration. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad-gita, what appears like nectar in the beginning, it is very enjoyable, ultimately it becomes poison. And Krishna also says, what appears like poison in the beginning may be very difficult to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, ultimately it becomes nectar in the end. That promise also Krishna gives in the Bhagavad-gita. So if we adopt this path of Sankirtana and read Srila Prabhupada's books and get attached to Krishna's name, form, qualities and activities. 4 things: Nama, Rupa, Guna and Leela. And if we try to maximize our attachment for these 4 things, then our mind will never be disturbed by unnecessary attractions of this material world. We can stay away from this and we can always experience real satisfaction and happiness. So those who don't have an opportunity to hear about Krishna, those who have no opportunity to know about the name, form, qualities and activities of Krishna, just see their position, especially in the modern civilization. It's very, 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 very pathetic, very dangerous. Because on one hand, they have desire to maximize their happiness, and attempt to do it through material means only leads to frustration. So whole world more or less is frustrated because lack of spiritual, bona fide spiritual practice. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada was very eager to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra among the people in general, so that people get to know that real satisfaction and happiness is available only in giving service to Krishna. So that was Prabhupada's very strong desire to preach and give this message to others. So today also happens to be the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Thai Gaur Premanande.